Good morning, everyone. There we go. I'm amazed, actually. This is a turnout that I think is beyond what we expected. I'm glad we bumped the number of chairs up from 20 to 150. Thank you for that, Marilyn. That was very smart. I'm Stacy Burrs. I'm the CEO of the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia. We thank all of you for coming out on what was a rainy day, but has turned out to be quite a nice day, to celebrate the groundbreaking for the museum's new home at the Lee Street Armory. Your attendance today demonstrates the power of ideas and collaboration. It was 119 years ago, on October 5th of 1895, that the African-American editor and city alderman John Mitchell Jr. described the scene as the city of Richmond transferred the armory to Richmond's 1st Battalion. Mr. Mitchell said, "The Committee on Grounds and Buildings met at the new armory to formally turn over this handsome structure to Major J.B. Johnson and his corps of officers. After inspecting the rooms, the party retired to the large porch on the 2nd floor. Colonel W.E. Cutshaw made a statement of the difficulties under which the Corps had labored previously, and also declared that the colored troops demonstrated their efficiency and their soldierly bearing. Major J.B. Johnson then responded. He declared the troops under his command would always prove faithful and trust and respond whenever called upon. The keys were then delivered, and so ended this impressive ceremony." Those were John Mitchell's almost precise words. As we all know, he was the person most instrumental for convincing the city of Richmond that it should fund and construct the magnificent building behind me. Less known is the fact that the Colonel Cutshaw that Mitchell mentions was the city engineer and a former Confederate officer. The two men, Mitchell, the unrelenting freedom fighter, and Cutshaw, the former Confederate officer, worked together to build the only armory ever constructed in the country, which means the only one ever constructed in the world for an African-American militia. And so it was on that occasion that the Lee Street Armory began a long and arduous journey that brings us all together today for this momentous event, to conduct the official groundbreaking ceremony for the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia's new home. How about some applause for that line? Having worked on the project for over 7 years, I believe I feel some of the same elation and relief and actually, or frankly, exhaustion that Editor Mitchell must have felt when he wrote the following words with obvious emotion and pride. "On last Wednesday night, the beautifully lighted armory could be seen from this section of town, glowing in magnificent splendor. A few minutes past 8 o'clock, the tap of the drum told us that the battalion was ready to enter its new home." And so I'd like to say today, on behalf of all who have associated with the Black History Museum over the years and labored with us and prayed with us, its board members, past and present, the staff, the city of Richmond, the Commonwealth of Virginia, our many friends both inside and outside of the museum community that have been so supportive. I'd like to thank all of you for helping get us to this point. We'd also like to thank the local and regional media that can sometimes be brutal. They have been very supportive and encouraging on this project, and so we thank them as well. I'm certain there are many who, including myself, wondered whether or not we'd ever see this day, whether or not this journey would actually come to this end. And while there's clearly more work to be done, this transformation is now underway. From the caterpillar will emerge a butterfly. So thank you all once again for your support of the project and its overall purposes. As a museum, of course, our charge is to educate the public about the many contributions Virginia's Black citizens have made to the history of our city, our state, and our nation. But in addition, our goal is to establish a welcoming, interactive environment in which individuals from all walks of life can gather to reflect on the many contributions this community has made and to continue the honorable pursuit of reconciliation. We believe that our city and our state need for this effort to be a success. You know, Virginia played a major role in the history of this nation. It was at the very center of the country's devastating and consequential Civil War. It played a central role in the nation's experiment of that peculiar institution we call slavery, and it was a major contributor to the 100 years of Jim Crow that followed thereafter. And so we owe it to our progenitors, to our ancestors of all races and all ethnicities and national origins to do this and to get it right. And we owe it to our children and our children's children as well. We believe that Richmond must tell this story, and we must tell it accurately, completely, and in a full-throated way. And so we invite all who are here today to join us in this important endeavor. So I'll thank you again for coming out for the event today. It's not the best day for a groundbreaking, but it certainly is a great day for a groundbreaking. Now, at this point, my notes say I'm supposed to turn it over to Penny, but I actually neglected to put a person on the program who almost single-handedly assured that this building was here over the course of some 25, 30 years. I don't want to age you too much, Selden, but over the course of quite a long time, that the building remained and did not completely crumble to the ground so that it would be available for this event today and the project that we propose for the building. So I'd like to ask Selden Richardson to come up and give brief remarks.
Thank you, Stacy, and good morning, all. You know, when I was a child, my grandmother had some stock phrases that she loved to use, and one of them happened to be, "I never thought I'd live to see the day." And the older she got, the more inappropriate and overly dramatic the use of this phrase became, like, "I never thought I'd live to see the day that your father would sell that Oldsmobile." But after an association with the Lee Street Armory of 20 years, and looking at this activity and construction that you see out the window here, I feel I can rightfully borrow grandmother's phrase. I tell you in all candor that after all the years of talks, promotions, research, meetings, flyers, phone calls, slideshows, lectures, letters, emails, tours, and appearances before City Council urging the preservation of this building, I was really beginning to wonder if I would live to see this day. Happily, I have, and the day is upon us. We have to remember, though, that even in my pie-eyed wonder and delight at what you see happening before you comes nowhere near the joy and pride that must have been felt 110 years ago when this building was first constructed. Imagine the thoughts and feelings of the former slaves and children of ex-slaves who stood where we do today and watched these towers rise with the skyline of Jackson Ward. The Lee Street Armory represented for the blacks of Richmond the same promise, written this time in brick and granite, that had been penned a generation before in American blood during the Civil War. It was the promise that theirs was and always would be a free society and a people with the same validity, the same dignity, and the same rights as any other. When the Lee Street Armory opened in the fall of 1895, it set off a week-long celebration of speeches, banquets, exhibitions, and parades. Even at the grim dawn of the Jim Crow era, the Armory was the pride and joy of Jackson Ward, and they let all of Richmond know it. Since then, the building has survived decades of hard use as first an armory, then a school, then a recreation center for black GIs, a school again, a city warehouse, and finally, a roofless and fire-scorched ruin. It has survived to become the oldest armory still standing in Virginia and an absolute architectural gem. History repeats itself, as we were told it always would, and today we again meet to admire the Lee Street Armory as it begins another mission at service to this city. This time, though, it is all Richmonders, indeed all Virginians, who should celebrate this rebirth and admire these towers that still stand so proudly above the Jackson Ward skyline. It has been a long, hard road to get to this point. My heartfelt thanks to the leadership, the board, and the staff of the Black History Museum, who had the vision and the wisdom, the determination and the guts to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. So now at this point, I'll bring up my good friend Penny McPherson, who led the team that put this event together in an outrageously short period of time. So Penny, come up and tell us how you did that.
Good morning. To answer your question, Stacy, I'm a praying woman. Good morning, distinguished guests. I am Penny McPherson, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the groundbreaking of the Black History Museum of Richmond, and that deserves an applause in itself. Bold vision, bright future, and we celebrate a visible new milestone as we continue the journey through Black history. And it was a sincere honor and with appreciation that I served with some of the finest men and women in the city of Richmond on the groundbreaking committee. So I want to thank the groundbreaking committee. We want to welcome you. We welcome your presence. We welcome your support. We welcome your future presence, and I'm going to post-date this welcome. We welcome you back to the ribbon cutting of the Black History Museum in 2015. Now it is my great pleasure to welcome a lady that many of you know, to present her to you, to introduce her to others. She's a formidable leader, well respected and admired in her community and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, Marilyn H. West, the board chair.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone before me has said everything that I wanted to say, so there's little left for me to say, except we want to mark this Kodak moment, because clearly it is a Kodak moment. On behalf of the board, the current board, the former board, and the boards of the future, we love you. We can't tell you how much support you have given to us. You've done everything. It's the person who may have just turned the stone, or the person who put up the tent. It's the person who gives us the money. It's the person who does all the great things to make it happen today. And so really what I would like for you to do is to stand up and give yourselves a rounding applause. All right. Someone told me to do that because just in case no one gave me an applause, I would have already had it. But on a serious note, I'm absolutely delighted that you're here. We're thrilled. Thank you very much again. And we have some wonderful folks on our program today, dignitaries and others, and they're in our audience. But the chosen few who are here to deliver remarks we're very proud of, and Stacy will bring them up. Thank you. One at a time, of course.
The first thing I'd like to do that I neglected to do at the beginning of this whole thing is the elected officials in the room, if you could just raise your hands and receive your round of applause. And the other thing I neglected to do in the midst of my jitters was acknowledge the presence of the family of Carol Anderson, one of the founders of the Black History Museum. So if the Anderson family could stand up and receive a well-earned round of applause. And I now get to read the credentials of LeVar Stoney. The governor is out of the state. He would have been here today. He sent for some of us to meet because we've not met yet, and I'm happy to have done that today. LeVar Stoney, who is the Secretary of the Commonwealth, serving the Governor McAuliffe and his administration. Prior to this appointment, LeVar served as Deputy Director of the McAuliffe gubernatorial transition. He was the Deputy Campaign Manager of Governor McAuliffe's 2013 campaign for governor. In 2008, Mr. Stoney served as Executive Director of the Democratic Party of Virginia, and at that time he was one of the youngest state Democratic Party directors in the United States. During his career, Stoney worked in various public and private sector capacities, including for State Senator Creigh Deeds and former Delegate C. Richard Cranwell. So, Mr. Stoney, could you join me at the podium?
Good morning. I know we had a little rain. We could have probably used without the tent, right? Maybe. But. Well, first, I want on behalf of the governor cannot be here today, but you have me. But on behalf of the governor, I want to say congratulations to everyone who made this possible. In government, I've come to find out that sometimes when ideas are given or at their birth, there are folks who are out there who are naysayers, who say you cannot do it, it won't happen, even though you may think it can happen. And so I want to recognize the leadership of the Black History Museum who said, we can do this. We can make it happen. Because today, this would not be possible without your spirit and your can-do approach. So let's give a round of applause to those folks who made it happen. Your can-do approach, your can-do spirit will now allow for the story of African Americans not only here in the Commonwealth and not only here in Richmond to be told, but America's story to be told. And when there's a time when we're not investing in infrastructure, the community, the city, and its partners have come together to make this happen. And that's a great thing for the Commonwealth, that's a great thing for the city. So congratulations, and keep that can-do spirit. Thank you.
Thank you, LeVar. This next person really doesn't need an introduction. I'll make a couple of personal comments. Every year, Congressman Scott does a high school art competition. And for every year over the course of, I'm not sure how many years, Mary or Congressman Scott, I know it's been quite a few, 30? 20? Means it was 35 or 40. He's done that at the Black History Museum, and we've been honored to host that event there, and we're honored to have you come every year and participate in the event, and we're particularly honored that you came down from Washington, D.C. today. I know you were having so much fun there, to come for our event today. And so I give you Congressman Bobby Scott.
Thank you, Stacy. This is certainly a great day for Richmond and a great day for the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia. It's been a landmark here for decades, and I've been happy to use the facilities every year. Stacy made a comment about telling the story, and LeVar talked about telling the story. Jokes have been made about telling the story about history. Some call it his story. There's an African proverb that said, until the lions write their own history, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. This museum will tell it right. And that's why this facility is going to be so important. There's a lot of history to tell. Just in this neighborhood, you have several churches with about 150 years of history. And we've heard already the history of this facility itself. And so a lot of history will be told here at the Armory. And we expect the facility to be anchor here in Jackson Ward, the facility for gatherings, not just for art contests, but also for wedding receptions and other meetings, and also for the Richmond Jazz Society. We'll use this as its base. This effort is a joint effort involving the public sector with tax credits, and the private sector involving the academic community, nonprofit groups, and generous individuals and businesses making today's groundbreaking possible. So I want to congratulate the museum, Jackson Ward, Richmond, and the facility. This is a great day that we celebrate today. Thank you very much.
And so the next person on the program doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one as well, similar to Bobby's. It was about 3 years ago that the mayor was at an event at the museum, and I sort of trapped him right between the Woolworths exhibition and the oh, gosh almighty. Yeah, the other, the other one, and just in between the Oliver Hill bust, I trapped him, and the space was so small he could have juked me, but he didn't do that. And I asked him if he would help us, and the help that I wanted at that point was to have him serve as the honorary chair of the Capitol campaign. And without hesitating, he said yes. Didn't ask a bunch of questions about how much time and how much money and what he would have to do. Yes, he would do it. And from that point forward, it made it easier for us to go out and recruit some of the leadership team that we needed to recruit in order to make this project work. And so I thank you, Mayor Jones, for that and for all the things that you're doing for the city. Give you Mayor Dwight Jones.
Let's give Stacy a round of applause. He's done a great job. And this is a great day for the city of Richmond, and we're great because we come together to do great things, and the consortium of companies, philanthropists, and individuals who have been dedicated to this project is nothing short of awesome. And so we celebrate today what is going to happen, something that should have happened a long time ago. This particular project even gave me a couple of minutes of fame. I got a call from Jesse Vaughn. He's the very popular director who's doing a film on Muhammad Ali now, and he came to do a promo for the Black History Museum, and when he called, he said, "We want you to be in the promo." And when I got to the place where it was being done, they powdered my face, they put lipstick on my lips, and they even made sure that my little bit of hair was in place. And I got to the place where I was in front of the camera, and they gave me 2 lines. And then I found out that 21 other people had the same thing to do. So my fame was short-lived, but the 2 lines were very good. The 2 lines said that this place will be a place to celebrate our accomplishments, and that this place will be a place to learn. And this place is a place to celebrate our accomplishments because our accomplishments are so many. We have accomplished so much. Our resilience is without equal in this country. And we have to have a place where we can have that story told. And we have to have a place to learn because it's important to us to know that there are people who really need to know our history. And we've got to ensure that we have a place for that to be done. And so the city of Richmond is extremely proud to partner with the Black History Museum, helping to make this project possible. We are providing a grant, and we're providing technical assistance, and many of our people are here today because we are so impressed and so proud of this project and what it's going to mean for our city, what it's going to mean for tourism, and what it's going to mean for Jackson Ward, but most of all, what it's going to mean for preserving our history and telling our story. And so I look forward, Penny, to coming back for the day when we walk into this building and we're able to turn another page in Richmond's history. Thank you very much.
Can I ask the folk who are here from the Department of Community and Economic Development to just put your hands up. I think you need to be acknowledged for the effort that you have put into this project and other projects. And there's one person in particular that I'm going to make stand up because she's an absolute bulldog. If you want to get something done, Denise Laws is the person that you want on your team. So stand up, Denise. Let them see you. Thank you so much. Members of the Historic Jackson Ward Association, if you would shout or put your hands up or something. This, again, is not possible without the support that you guys provided, and our former president of so many years, in particular, Charles Finley. And so I know he's looking down on this program today as well. And so we appreciate what you've done. Let me do this before I forget. If I forget to acknowledge the support we've gotten today from the Richmond chapter of the Lynx, I'm going to have trouble getting out of this tent. So if you all can just wave or something, we really appreciate what you've done today. And Marilyn, we appreciate your help in getting that done. Let's see. Jennifer Hunter. Despite all that we do in terms of hard work, doing this kind of project is not possible without money. And so what we wanted to do was acknowledge the early support that we got from 3 corporations in particular: Altria, Dominion Resources, and MWV. And so Jennifer Hunter's first on the list. Could you come up and give us some remarks, please?
Well, good morning. It is with great pride that I stand here before you on behalf of Altria and its family of companies to welcome you all and celebrate what's happening right here behind us. I'd like to thank Stacy and Monroe and Marilyn for your commitment and leadership to this project, and frankly for including Altria in an opportunity to help strengthen our community. I would like to say a word. One of the things that I appreciate about what I get to do is, my team and I get to invest in really exciting projects across the Commonwealth and here in the city. And we don't always tell the story why it's important for us to support these. So if you would indulge me, I'd like to share something because it's what makes our support for this particular project, I think, very meaningful. It's important to us to invest in the communities that we call home. For over 50 years, we've supported arts and culture because we know it strengthens the communities where we live and work. We have supported a number of projects. A few months ago, I had the opportunity with the mayor to talk about our support for the Arts and Cultural District along East Broad Street. And when we think about the addition of the Armory behind us as an important representation of additional investments and revitalization of downtown here in historic Jackson Ward, it's something that we all should be proud of. But our involvement in this particular project is also the latest example of Altria's longstanding support for inclusion. And we don't often talk about our history of support for African Americans. And I want to just share some things that I think are very important as we think about the stories that are going to be told in this magnificent building behind us. In the 1930s, 3 decades before civil rights became law, our company, Philip Morris USA, was one of the first tobacco firms to hire African American salesmen. In the 1940s, our company began to support several prominent civil rights organizations. In the 1950s, African Americans who traveled through the South, which I did not know, carried information for where they can eat and sleep. The only reason that I know that is because I learned that our company published that, which I found to be pretty unique but pretty special. Around this time, the National Urban League acknowledged Philip Morris for its efforts, but I will tell you, not many took kindly, or not all supported the positions that we took. And in 1956, the White Citizens Council in the South called for a boycott of our products, which they didn't make as an idle threat. Philip Morris saw its sales cut in half, but they stood firm for its policies and support, and used that as an opportunity to further invest. And at that time, it made its first education grant for the United Negro College Fund. Decades later, became one of 2 founding sponsors for the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. Today, we support both of those organizations, and we continue to support inclusion. I was proud in July. Marilyn was there. We provided support for the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. I am so excited about that because there will be a true partnership between these 2 museums, stories told in DC and the wonderful stories that will be told here in Richmond. So it makes perfect sense for us to support this project in our hometown. The exhibitions that will be here that are going to tell the stories of African Americans in Richmond that helped shape the culture of the city today. So I congratulate staff, the donors, and volunteers who helped bring us to this groundbreaking moment today. And what I will tell you is, this is a wonderful example of how when the public sector and the private sector come together and are willing to work on something that is a bold vision with a clear mission, what we can all do together. So I congratulate everyone. Stacy, congratulations to you, and thank you.
I got a note from my bosses on the board that said, smile. So I'll smile. Is Mike Hopkins in the room and is Bert Pinnock in the room? Don't try and hide. I need you to come to the front of the room. Mike, Bert, he's not here. There he is. I just wanted everybody to meet Mike Hopkins, who's the developer for the project across the street. He is a brilliant developer and a brilliant construction manager, and he's only 25 years old. So that's pretty cool. But I'm so impressed with what he's done. I wanted to acknowledge him at this event, and I could not have a better partner, a more collaborative person to work with. And so for the project, give Mike Hopkins a round of applause. And I think most of you in the room probably know Bert Pinnock, who was the principal at BAM Architects. He's now over at Baskerville. He's the architect of record and doing a great job on the project for us. Let's see. One of my new best friends, Iris Holiday. The amount of not just support, but confidence that's demonstrated by the support and the friendship that evolves out of that is almost as important as the money. And to have Dominion in early on a project is significant. It carries a lot of weight. You guys did not hesitate. A couple of us came over and met with Mr. Farrell, had a great conversation, and he essentially said to us, what would you like me to do? And he's lived up to all of that. You guys have lived up to all that you promised, and can you come up and give us a few words?
Not only do I want Stacy to smile, I really want him to breathe. Well, 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 how wonderful it is to see everyone today and celebrate this special moment in history to break ground for the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia. And how appropriate that we are all gathered today in this community in a space of tremendous, tremendous faith. For the board, for volunteers, for supporters in every arena, the Black History Museum staff and the funders, and the whole museum community, which seems to be in the house today. Faith brings you to the fruition of dreams and plans and goals. The museum now takes its place among the treasured venues where history, long past and recent, interpretation, exhibits, and stories, histories and herstories, are showcased. There is richness to be shared, and bold vision, and hard work, and renaissance can mean a bright future. How fitting that the venue, the 1st Virginia Volunteers Battalion Armory, built in 1895, the oldest still standing in Virginia, will house this museum. As described in the Richmond Planet newspaper when it opened, and I'm going to repeat something, but I want you to please look at these pictures of illumination at night. The beautifully lighted armory could be seen from this section, glowing in magnificent splendor. Now it again has not only the promise, but the reality of glowing in magnificent splendor again. In flipping through books about quotations, I felt I was going to be surrounded anyway today by famous Virginians. Virginians who were gutsy, who were bold in their vision, who were groundbreaking, who were pace-setting, and who were absolutely grassroots. They changed things in Virginia. They're changing things in Richmond. But I came across the bio of Dorothy Height. Dorothy Height is a Richmonder. She was president of the National Council of Negro Women, and in its day, it was a force of 4 million African American women strong. She was a legendary activist. She was a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She was ahead of her time. And again, she was a Richmonder. Ms. Height stated, "You can do something significant only by being part of a collaborative, organized effort. It is not uniformity, but it is a special kind of unity. It is a unity that makes it possible for us to make an impact." The Black History Museum will make history, and it will make impact. Thank you again for including us, Stacy, as one of the first, as one of the leads in this wonderful investment, in this necessary investment, and we will be with you today and in the future.
So I should acknowledge at this point, I think the presidents of at least 2 universities that are here in the house, Virginia Union University, Dr. Perkins, and Ed Ayers. Dr. Perkins is a family friend and a great guy with a great golf game. And I appreciate your coming out today to support this effort. And as everyone knows, they're also in an anniversary year of their own, the 150th anniversary of the founding of the university. We're very excited about that and want to get together and do some things around that. Ed Ayers, there's not one thing we've asked you for from the standpoint of counsel, information, support, and you've been there from the very beginning on this project for us as well, and so thank you very much. And there's always a danger in doing what I'm getting ready to do, but I see Jack Berry in the room. I want to acknowledge what Venture Richmond does for the city, and I know I'm going to leave some people out, so maybe I stop right there. But the final of the early funders is Meade Westvaco, and the fact of the matter is we wouldn't be where we are specifically or primarily without Meade Westvaco. They provided the early money for the feasibility study that we did. And you can imagine an organization the size of ours, small little cultural history museum with a $200,000 budget, running around town trying to ask for money for a $13 million project without having first demonstrated its feasibility. And so from the very beginning, I knew that we had to have a feasibility study done by a strong firm, and Meade Westvaco, MWV, without batting an eye or blinking, said, yes, we'll support that for you. And I think a check came in the mail almost the next day. And so we deeply appreciate that. None of us would be here right now without what you all did. So if you'd like to come up and make a few remarks, is that good? They're also shy. And I've got another note that I'm glad was passed on to me. The museum community in Richmond is very collaborative, but it's also very competitive. There are only so many dollars to go around. But despite that, the way this community works together from the standpoint of telling the narrative of Richmond and Virginia is amazing. And so, again, there hasn't been one time when I've asked Christy or Alex, who else did I see here today? Bill in particular, for some support or a favor or a way of interpreting something that they haven't jumped right in and done it. I think Christy made her debut in that film the mayor was talking about as well. And so I just want to thank the museum community for all that you guys have done and hopefully will continue to do in the way that we're able to collaborate. I left out the Library of Virginia. They're also a very, very important resource for us, and so thank you all again. And I think that's it on the program, except for Dr. Monroe Harris. Have I forgotten something? You're smiling. Okay.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Man, this is a wonderful day. A wonderful day. You all just don't know how happy I am to be a part of this. When Stacy and John, where's John King? John, when you all, when we had lunch a couple of years ago, and you said that we were working on this project and explained it to me, and the first thing I said is, how can I get involved with it? Because I truly believe that this is important for this community and for the state. We have wonderful cultural edifices all over this city, and there's absolutely no reason why the Black History Museum cannot step into that forefront. And so I am just proud and happy to be a part of this. Now, there's one person or people that we left out when we were thinking, well, actually two. When you're doing a project like this, you need a banker. And we definitely needed a banker. Darius, you know what I'm talking about. We need a banker. And so I want to thank the people from Union First Market Bank who have provided us with tax credit and other funding up to $3.5 million. So please give them a round of applause. And last but not least, let's thank Stacy. I want to, you all, yeah, stand up. This guy, you all don't realize, this is a labor of love for him. And it's infectious. Say what? Stop. No, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop because you deserve every bit of it. Every bit of it. Everything that you've done, we can't pay you for what you've done, nor are we paying you. So, because we have no money. So, this guy, day in and day out, from the concept to the implementation, going out on calls, we've gone out on calls to ask for funding. This is the man that made this thing happen. I'm telling you right now. So he deserves every bit of thanks and acknowledgement that we can give him. So now for the ceremonial groundbreaking, would everybody please stand? Of the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia will continue now and into perpetuity.
You are dismissed. Thank you all very much.